Bills Mafia, what's going on? That's John getting down. He missed last week. He was off a step last week, so he's picking it back up this week. So, welcome into First and Five, your Tuesday edition. I am joined, as always, by John Helmkamp. John, first and foremost, man, how you feeling? Bills on the mini bye week. We'll touch on the Dolphins and the Saints game, but how you feeling today, man?
I am wonderful. I tweeted it out late last night after the Monday night thriller between the Lions and the Ravens. But like, if you told me a month ago that the Bills would be 3-0, the Chiefs and the Ravens would both be 1-2, and that the Bengals were going to be without Joe Burrow for like an extended period of time, 3 months, I would have been ready to run through a brick wall. You can't ask for, the preseason expectations of the year to have started any better for the Bills than they have so far. And then you get everyone going, well, what about the Chargers? I'm like, I know the Chargers are good. That's not the point. Like a month ago, people weren't talking about the Chargers as really being a threat to potentially be the AFC 1 seed when it's all said and done. Now we kind of have to start paying attention to them. But Bengals, Ravens, and Chiefs were like the three biggest threats that everyone was considering. And I mean, the Bills are going to have like at least a 3-game. What is it? They got a 3-game lead on Baltimore already because they have the head-to-head. They got a 2-game lead on everybody else. Like they're out of the gates pulling away early. So great start to the season.
Yeah, great plus the Bills get to play the Chiefs here. I think it was at week 9. So
something like that.
Yeah, I think looking at the schedule, and I don't want to look too far ahead, and I had a lot of people in my comments yesterday on the show that we did talking about the AFC East saying that we need to just take it 1 week at a time and just slow down. It's the NFL, it's week to week. But if the Bills handle business Sunday, which we'll talk about here in a minute against the Saints, and the Ravens and Chiefs play, one of those teams is going to be 1-3. If it's the Ravens, potentially 4 games behind the Bills with the tiebreaker. So that's going to be very interesting. And again, I think John and myself will talk more in depth as the season progresses about what the rest of the AFC looks like. But today, I kind of want to get John's thoughts, having a few days now to kind of reflect on the Dolphins game. I know it's been talked about by a lot of folks, but we haven't had a chance to kind of digest a little bit of what's going on. So I guess in a more compacted way, what was good, what was bad, what would you like to see going forward? Kind of like break down your thoughts of the Bills Thursday night win over the Dolphins.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the good. The good is James Cook continues to be arguably the best running back in the NFL. He's off to just a torrid start. Doesn't matter if you want to use him on the ground, on power runs, getting him out in space, getting him the ball in the passing game, whatever it is. He is absolutely dynamic and elite. And I think I said it last week that he's the motor to this offense outside of Josh Allen, and he continues to be. So James Cook, very good. All in all, I thought the offense was a bit weird. Joe Brady's play calling seemed really, really weird to me. I don't understand why there wasn't more of an emphasis on attacking down the field. I'm not saying that every pass needs to be 20, 30, 40 yards down the field, but some would have been good. There was a lot of short to intermediate, and when you're going against a team that's biggest defensive weakness is their secondary, I would have thought there'd be more of an emphasis on attacking that down the field than what we saw. Miami's pass rush needs to be respected. So maybe that was part of the game plan. Just get the ball out of Josh Allen's hand fast and kind of minimize that and run the rock, which they did. So that's all fine and well. And maybe it was just play clean football. Don't turn it over. Go get your points. However we can get them with kind of long and sustained drives and keep Miami off the field. But it feels like a little bit too much respect to Miami was given. Yeah. Like, this is a team that had been really struggling early in the season. Tua had been making a lot of bad turnovers. And in this game, I thought Tua looked the best that he has this year. I thought that he looked really good until the last drive, until the interception that finally happened. But before that, I thought Tua was playing really good. Some things that concern me: the defensive line. I'm looking over here because I have my notes app up on this screen, and it just says defensive line, WTF. Like, that's all that it says over here, because they couldn't do anything. And I know that we're missing Ed Oliver for that game, but we talked about it last week. I thought this was an opportunity for the edges. I thought this was a Greg Rousseau game. Like the way that Bosa had been dominating and that he would be commanding so much attention on the one edge. I thought Rousseau would have a ton of opportunity to get freed up and go get after Tua in this. We talked about how Rousseau often gets sacks in bunches. So maybe this is a game where he would have 1.5, 2 sacks. Didn't make any impact on this game. So that to me is concerning. The edge rushers completely disappeared. Tua was not sacked once. Bosa and Groot combined for 7 pressures, no sacks. Bosa got 1 quarterback hit, and it was the only quarterback hit of the team. That's it. Like, that to me is alarming. And I know there's reinforcements coming and stuff like that, but that was a problem. Third down defense, man, another massive WTF in my note sheet. They could not get off the field. I mean, 3rd and a mile in multiple situations. And Miami's just running really simple, screens or just quick hit passes to let their speedsters go after the catch. And Buffalo just could not tackle them. They couldn't get them down. And they just continued to keep drives alive that they shouldn't have. The biggest one being right before halftime. I mean, you had an opportunity to get the ball back, something like 3.5 minutes or something like that when Miami started with the ball. Huge opportunity. Get off the field, get the ball back to Josh, let him go get points, and then double dip after halftime potentially. And there were, I don't even know how many third downs there were on that drive.
5.
I wish I had counted. There were 5. Thank you. Yeah. 5 third downs on that drive alone, and they just could not get off the field. And that to me was like so wildly infuriating. This is still a really, really good football team with Super Bowl aspirations. There's no doubt about it. And that's the reason why I feel like we can nitpick when all in all, you're looking at a 3-0 team that scored at least 30 points in all 3 games. Like they're cruising, they're doing great. But because the aspirations are so high, you kind of nitpick a little bit on things that you think could come back to hurt you later and things that you want to see improvement in. And I feel like that game not being the cleanest game, it having some difficulty, way more difficulty than you thought that it was going to, being able to get after the quarterback, things like that. But you still come out with a big win against a division rival in primetime. That's kind of the best of both worlds. It gives the coaching staff things to talk about and things to work on and improve going forward, especially like you said, mini bye, 10-day stretch between games, an opportunity to kind of reset a little bit, attack some coaching points and try to make improvements going forward while still getting a W and not hurting in the win-loss column. So all in all, still a really good game. There's more that I can get into too, but I don't want to go on like a 15-minute diatribe just about that game.
So do you think that, and I just want to pick your brain for a second, do you think that the lack of coverage in the secondary, especially against a quarterback like Tua who likes to get the ball out quick, I think his snap to release time in this game was like 2.3 seconds or something like that. That's obviously going to affect your pass rush. And it looked like the Bills scheme with their coverage, they were playing more man than I thought they would have in that situation. So I don't know if it was more of a Bobby Babich wanted to be more physical with Tyreek and Waddle and things like that. But do you think that, because I've seen a lot of people giving Rousseau and Bosa in the defensive line a little bit of a pass this week because there was no pass rush because of how quick Tua was able to get the ball out. But I feel like in times past when we've played the Dolphins, I feel like there's been consistent pass rush and coverage on Tua's first read and second read and things like that. And that's confused Tua because that's what McDermott does, right? So do you think at all it's based off of the coverage? And I'm not saying we have to have coverage sacks and things like that, but do you think that there was issues? I mean, on that drive you were talking about right before the half, I think it was a 17-play drive.
Yeah.
That's just backbreaking for your defense. Like they could not get a stop when it mattered. First and second down, they were making stops. When it came to third and even a couple fourth downs, like it just, I don't know where the coverage issues are with this Bills secondary. I know that they, like you said, they have reinforcements coming, even in the secondary with Maxwell Harrison coming back and things like that. But What's your thoughts on the secondary and how they performed in this game? Because I feel like if you're able to cover Tua's first read and have him try to move off that, that's when you start getting into pressures and Tua being erratic and things like that. What's your thoughts on the Bills secondary this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Trey White did not look good. I think that was a big struggle, honestly, especially this coming week going against the Saints. I'd rather see Dorian Strong. Like, I would rather get Dorian Strong some reps at CP2 and see how it goes. Maybe you kind of rotate him throughout the game a little bit more and just get him more opportunities on the field. But I thought Trey White looked cooked in coverage multiple times in this game. So I think the coverage is definitely a problem. It's a fine line because you want to take away Tua's first read by disguising coverages or by playing really tight coverage by just eliminating the route in man coverage. However, you're going against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who are two of the fastest players in the NFL. So if you do mess up or you try to jam them and you miss, then they gouge you on the back end. So I think that there's always a little bit of that razor's edge when going against Miami. Early in the game, I thought that that Buffalo's defense did a really good job with some of the looks. I thought we saw more kind of mug fronts and dropping out. And as the game went on, I just felt like they kind of got away from it. I felt like it was more conservative, it was more simplistic, and they were just kind of trying to drop and keep everything in front of them. And rally to the ball, but they weren't rallying to the ball. They weren't able to get there and get off the field. So I would have liked to see a little bit more aggressiveness out of the defense. Just in general, I thought it was a conservative attack kind of across the board on both sides of the ball, which allowed Tua to kind of be comfortable because the first read wasn't taken away aggressively. Right. So he was able to just get the ball out in 2.3 seconds, just lightning fast and get out of his hands to avoid the pressure. And I also thought most of the game, there was not a lot of push up the middle from the defensive tackles. I know Deion Walker came up big with the play right at the end of the game, and that was awesome to see. It was a great move. But all in all, I felt like the edges did an okay job of kind of squeezing the pocket where Tua needed to step up, but he had a lot of room to step up. So It didn't lead to there being any issues or any sacks or anything like that in those situations where maybe if you have Ed Oliver in there, it's a little bit different. So I would have liked to have seen more aggressiveness, but again, you still won by double digits. You scored 31 points. Like, I don't know how you can really fault the team that much when it worked. I almost feel like they were just kind of waiting on Tua to make a mistake. They just were waiting on Tua to throw a really bad ball and to go make a play on it. And it just didn't happen until way at the end of the game where they finally forced the hand, and they had a little bit of a disguise. They kind of rotated down and slotted the linebacker over and created that interception. Tua played really clean until that moment. I think that they expected him to be worse, like, honestly.
Yeah. I feel like, and this is the term that I've heard a lot, is that it was like the Bills playing with their food. It was like, they got cute play calling offensively in the third quarter. Like you said, like you said, the run game was working, and then we had a drive where we went 3 straight passes and had to punt. That is what it is. Execution, whatever. But like you said, we're not picking apart the Bills saying they played bad by any means. I see a couple comments saying that Tyreek only had 49 yards and this and that.
There was a lot to like.
Yeah, there's a ton to like. The only issues I had was when they needed to get off the field, they couldn't get off the field. Like John said at the end of the half, that 17-play drive is just a backbreaker. Like that play that the offensive drive the Bills had before that, where Josh got sacked and then they missed a field goal. Like there was just a few of those issues where it was just like, oh, here we go. So, but the Bills won, 10-point win is nothing to scoff at. 3-0 in the AFC East, 4-game lead on both the Jets and the Dolphins. And the Bills have the 1-2 Patriots here in a couple weeks on October 5th in the rivalry game. So let's switch gears towards the Saints. So when we were discussing the show before we came live, I'm not going to repeat what John said about the Saints, but he thought that it would be a pretty brief analogy, a pretty brief summary, a pretty brief preview of week 4. So what did you see from the Saints in week 3 and so far this year, to kind of get the fans up to date on what to expect from the Saints on Sunday?
Bad football.
Okay.
Just, man, that game against Seattle was ugly from the jump.
Special teams nightmare.
Yeah, special teams nightmare. I mean, I don't even remember all the things that they let up. There were missed kicks, there were long returns, there were
blocked
just
punt.
Blocked punt, just so many different things. They're just not a good football team right now, and you should never look past any team. And listen, like last week on this show, I was sitting here rattling off all the horrible stats of the Dolphins and how it should be 72-3, and the Bills should run over them, because quite frankly they should have. But the Dolphins played up a little bit. The Bills played a little bit conservatively, and like you said, they kind of played at their food, and that's just what happened. They still won by double digits and still scored 30 plus points. But the Saints are, again, another team that is just playing very, very poorly. Points per game, 15.7. 29th in the NFL. Yards per play, 4.4, 28th in the NFL. Third down conversion percentage, 35%, 26th in the NFL. Like, they're just not looking like a good team right now. Their quarterback play is, I wouldn't say atrocious. It's not great, but it's not the worst in the NFL. They still have Alvin Kamara. They still have things that need to be addressed, but their defense leaves a lot to be desired, and their special teams leave a lot to be desired. So I don't really know that there's a whole lot to this. I think you can almost say a lot of similar things that I said about Miami last week, which is you're going against a team that has really explosive playmakers in Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. So you do need to be mindful of that. Your secondary needs to be mindful of that. Safety play is going to be important. Pass rush is going to be important. It's a lot of the same storylines from last week.
Yeah.
Your secondary needs to be able to cover. Your pass rush needs to be able to get home. Your offense is arguably the best offense in the NFL. I don't see them struggling. It just looks like Josh Allen has taken his game into such a stratosphere right now that he is just so in command of this scheme and in lockstep. What's that thumbs up bubble on the screen? Thanks.
I don't know.
StreamYard. Did I do that?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Whoa!
Look at
that! Look at all these fun toys. This is amazing.
Geez.
Thanks, StreamYard. I'll make sure to keep my hands down and not be a hand talker like I normally am. But the way that Josh Allen is operating within this scheme and just his understanding of it, and the way that he's able to protect the ball while also being able to make the insane plays, like, they are just so in lockstep and able to basically do whatever they want at this point. It seems like even against tough teams like Baltimore, that second half, he was just out of this world in that second half. So I want there to be a little bit more on the explosive play front compared to what we saw this last week against Miami, but they also don't really need to. There's a comment here by Roy.
Yeah, I
want to see Brady get more of a killer instinct, and I completely agree. Especially early. Like, I would love you love the 12 play drives that just impose your will and they show the physicality, and James Cook marches down the field, and that's all fine and well too. But if you can also sprinkle in some of the ridiculous, some of the crazy wheel routes, and the stuff that just gives defenses fits and put them on their back heel early, I'd be fine with that too. Like, let's just jump out to a lead and then you can get a little more conservative. Like, let's just have fun in the first quarter, show off a little bit of the explosives while still protecting the ball, because that is what makes this team so great, is winning the turnover differential. But dial some stuff up. This is not a great team. Dial it up. Give Josh Allen a couple shots. Let's kind of crank it up a little bit, put some points on the board early, and make the Saints play from behind and take advantage of their special teams and all that fun stuff. The opportunity's here for it to be a runaway. It should be a runaway. But you never know in the NFL.
I like everything you said there, because I said it about the Dolphins game after it was over on my post-game show. I said, we need, when the Bills were up 14-7, I understand what they were trying to do on offense, but I didn't feel like there was a sense of urgency from Joe Brady in the offense to just put the game away. Put your foot on their throat and just make it so that it's 2 scores, that they're not coming back. We have the offense to do that. Now, on the other hand, I understand the high percentage passing plays that Joe Brady likes to call. And if you look at the next gen chart of Josh Allen's passes, he threw nothing. I think there was one pass over 10 air yards. So
it was the one to Dalton Kincaid that got
Right.
tipped away right at the last second of the end zone.
Yep. And it's so I get that. And this has been a huge conversation that a lot of the Bills fans have had and the content creators have had about, does Joe Brady even want to try to throw the ball further downfield than what he is? Or is he just doing it when he has to? So again, it's a conversation that I'm sure John and myself could have for another 2 hours, but we're not going to. But to me, what I want to see is come out aggressive. And if you're Sean McDermott and you're Joe Brady and you're Bobby Babich, you know that your units are better than the Saints. Right. On paper, on the field, execution, prove it. Go out there and prove it. Don't play with your food. Like I said, like the Bills did last week. Go out there and put this game away early. Just and force your will on this team. And to me, that's just, like you said, I'd rather have Ray Davis in the third quarter because there's a 17 or 20 point lead, instead of having to still have Josh out there, still trying to accumulate first downs and pass the ball and getting cute and things like that. And it's a 7-point or 10-point game that a swing could happen at any point in time. So I don't know. Like you said, I feel like the Saints defense can't stop the Bills. I think the Bills have, arguably one of the best offenses in the NFL. So it's just going to be execution at this point. So anything else you want to see? Or, I have a question for you. I thought about this right before we went live. Do you think this is a Landon Jackson game? You think we get to see him? It's a 16.5-point spread.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully.
Should we get him some live reps before Hoyt and 𝐬𝐿 come back in a couple weeks?
If not now, when?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's got to be. I think, wasn't Sean McDermott asked about Landon Jackson, and he said he was close to giving him a shirt, and that they had conversations, all the coaching staff basically saying we need to find ways to give these guys jerseys. They've got to get up there and on the field. So it is an internal conversation that's ongoing right now about how to get all of these young guys reps. That's one of the problems when you draft a boatload of defensive linemen. You can't have them all active. So I agree, though. Landon Jackson, it would be nice to get him on the field. He's strong, he's physical, he's long, he's a good edge setter. Maybe they see that as being an advantage with Alvin Kamara on the field. I don't know. I would love to see it. I'd love to see him up. I just want to go back to what you just touched on. In college football, they very rarely do teams play it conservatively. If you're better than the opponent, you'll see spreads in college football of 34.5 points.
Right.
Just outrageous spreads that always make me so uncomfortable to bet, because I'm like, are 5 points really? Or 5 touchdowns really? 5 touchdowns? That's insane. But then they'll beat them by 42. The reason that I love bringing that up right now, and that you see that in college football, is because what happens at halftime, you pull out some of your key starters, and your 5-star recruit that's been sitting on the sidelines now gets to get into the game and get some live reps against lesser opponents. It's like Alabama going against Louisiana Monroe. Okay.
Right.
This is a game where it's Alabama versus Louisiana Monroe. And I'm not trying to be blatantly rude to the Saints, but y'all are working for the first overall pick next year, and you know it. That's the way that this team is currently constructed. I'd be shocked if Alvin Kamara isn't traded in a month. Watch him go to the Chiefs because they suck at running back.
Don't put that out there. Don't put that
It's already been put out there. I got to bring it up.
Yeah.
It would suck. I would hate it. I'd be like, really? But you already have Alvin Kamara at home. His name's Kareem Hunt. He's old and he's big and he plods, and Alvin Kamara is on his way there. I'm just joking. Alvin Kamara is really good at football. But other than Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave and a little bit of Raheed Shaheed, this team doesn't really have any horses out there. I just want to see the Bills go out there and bury them early like the Seahawks did last week, so that they were able to get backups in the game in the second half. I would love to see a similar thing happen in this game. I don't want them dinking and dunking and toying with it and trying to play like possession battles, and we're 24-17 halfway through the third quarter. Like, don't do that. Like, don't make it this close and give them opportunities to hang around. Like, just run away from them early, make them one dimensional, and take Alvin Kamara out of the game, other than what he brings in the passing attack, and just run away. Just run. Like, I just want to see that happen. Hit the play action, come up with big splash plays. Defense, get a pick in the first quarter. Like, Taron Johnson, first drive, pick off a simple little hook route. Like, please, like, just let's see some plays that just make it abundantly clear we are way better than you are, because
Right.
you are. So act like it. I just want that type of game from the Bills this week. Also, before we go, I got to give Jackson Haws some flowers, because we haven't talked about him in this show yet.
I know.
I
It's amazing.
love Jackson
Yes,
Haws.
we all do.
I love him. I loved the draft pick when it happened. I think we talked about it in the first show that I came on. We had a conversation about, does he change their utilization of
Alec
six
Anderson.
offense alignment of Alec Anderson?
Yep.
I thought it would maybe cut into it. I didn't think that it would make it completely obsolete.
Yeah.
Because now you have him out there doing all the stuff that Alec Anderson was doing, but defenses also have to respect the fact that he can leak out and be another weapon in the passing attack. He gives them such a wrinkle and an advantage on the field. He is a nasty blocker, and he was on the receiving end of the little flip touchdown pass to catch his first career touchdown from Josh Allen. I didn't think he'd get a touchdown this early in the season. Good for him. So Jackson Haws is just amazing and completely changes the dynamic of what this team can do, both in the ground game and just the personnel packages that they put out there. So I just wanted to give some flowers to our stud Jackson Haws.
Deservedly so, because he takes snaps away from Alec Anderson, and I believe he's going to start taking snaps away from Dawson Knox. You heard it right here first. If he's able, 2 big plays in 3 weeks. He had that big catch against the Ravens down at the goal line, and then he had that little flip pass. And you can see how this team rallied around him after he scored his touchdown. Everybody was excited for him. And finally, he's an as advertised. You know, we were sold that this dude's just going to body people. He's just aggressive, nasty, mean, old school football. And if you watch film from the first 3 weeks, he's just crushing people. He's literally looking for somebody to hit, and it's awesome to watch. So, yeah, that's our preview of Bills Saints, and a little bit of an abbreviated preview. We touched on the Dolphins and the Saints. We'll be back next week, hopefully with the Bills W. The Bills should be 4-0 after this Sunday. So stay tuned right here. I'll be back on Friday. John will be back on Tuesday. Follow us on social media. You got everything there. If you want to follow Built in Buffalo, it's all right down in the description. Please hit the like wherever you're watching. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I am Dave Myers. That is John Helmkamp. We will see you next time on First and 5.